we live?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello mga karosa! So for today's video, we will talk about how did I get here. Actually, it's my asawa who suggested to do this video for other Filipinos out there na nag-a-apply or mag-a-apply pa lang for UK spouse visa. Para na rin sa lahat ng makakaintindi ng video na to. O, diba? Shout out to my very cute asawa. And disclaimer, I'm not an expert on visas, though I've been working and coordinating visa applications back in the Middle East for 9 years. I'm just gonna talk about my experience on my UK visa application. Never akong nag-apply ng visit visa, tourist visas before going to the UK. This is my first ever application. Ito na yung first and last na punta ko sa UK. Kasi nung nag-check kami sa YouTube with the same case as ours, bilang lang yung videos na nakita ko on how to get some tips and advice, parang mga 3 to 4 lang yata. And they were years ago pa. So, sana makatulong tong video na to.
Things have changed, huh?
Yes. So, let's get started. We applied a spouse visa via solicitor.
Yes.
Or /lawyer in Chester, UK. So, nagpakasal muna kami sa Cyprus in January. So, dalawa lang kami. Madali lang. Agad-agad makukuha nyo yung apostille stamped ng marriage certificate. And why did we choose Cyprus?
Well, Cyprus was easier for both of us, both geographically, because you were in Dubai, I was in the UK, and it was in January 22, so you might remember there was like a lot of COVID restrictions still. COVID was coming back again over the winter, so we had to be very careful when booking our place to get married, really, that we were gonna be okay, both as a UK and Filipino couple, and also that we were able to enter the country without any big issues. The only thing we needed was lateral flow, I think, and we had a test in the airport, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So the reason we picked Cyprus, mainly we actually really liked it. There was only a few options for our specific kind of situation. I think it was Georgia and I think it was Seychelles, no?
Seychelles, Denmark, Malta, but they really weren't that cooperative.
No.
When it comes to replying to my emails, and I really wanted to, you know, plan it already, even if it was like 3-4 months before the date planned.
That was difficult.
And it was lucky for me because I had my Schengen visa valid for that date as well, so yeah, we went for Cyprus.
Yes, so that was the main reason, but also because we also had some contacts out there who were British as well, who could help us with the marriage process, so it was good for us. But that's something that if you're going through this, you're going to need to do your research on things like your wedding organizer and your planner.
Yeah, thorough research.
Yeah, you really got to keep that communication. You've got to make sure that they're all legit, also make sure they've got a website or you can review or a Facebook group or something, and yeah, just keep in contact with them, because the one we had, I think she was really good. Stella, wasn't it? She was really good.
She's really good.
Yeah, really helpful, even in the days before, like just in terms of preparing for everything, like on the day she was good, but she made sure that we had all the documents we needed, which was probably more important in a way, because we wouldn't have been able to get married if we didn't have all the documents. We had to go to we had to go to the capital. Luckily you had a friend who lived, a Filipino who lived in,
I have friends everywhere in the world.
who lived in Nicosia, so we had to go from, it was Paphos really, wasn't it? Paphos to Nicosia, to just go to the consulate to get everything confirmed, but it was all good and it was all resolved in the end, I think, wasn't it? It's all good now, but there's a lot of like legal things that you need to be made aware of, and a lot of things that you need to maybe make a list of and check before you even get on the plane.
Just a tip, kung nagbabalak kayong mag-apply ng fiancé's visa dahil iniisip nyong mas madali, maganda magpakasal na lang muna kayo sa bansang madaling makuha yung marriage certificates, like nung ginawa namin. And doon din naman kasi pupunta yun. Countries like, yun nga, Georgia, Denmark, Seychelles, Malta, Cyprus, and many more. I have friends na nag-apply sila ng fiancé's visa. Same time din naman nilang nakuha yung visa like mine, which is 6 months.
Yes.
Pagdating dito, they are not permitted to work yet until they switch to spouse visa. So, maghihintay pa lang ilang buwan. At doble-doble pa yung gastos kasi mag-a-apply na naman sila ng spouse visa after ng kasal nila. Yun lang naman ay tip. So, nasa sa inyo pa rin naman kung anong gusto nyo gawin. Firstly, mag-book muna kayo at ipasa nyo ang A1 level IELTS or yung International English Language Testing System. Sobrang dali lang, promise. Ito yung pinakamababang level. I don't think may bumagsak na Pinoy sa IELTS. Ito yung medyo nagpatagal sa pagpasa ng requirements namin sa solicitor kasi maghihintay ka pa ng 1 week for the result. And depende pa kung available yung dates ng test that will work for you. So, nasa Dubai ako while nasa Wales naman si Javi nung nag-apply kami. Sa VFS Dubai ako nagpasa ng requirements. Dahil kumuha nga kami ng solicitor, sila na nag-book ng appointment ko, nag-apply, nakipag-coordinate, nagpasa lang kami ng hiningi nilang requirements. So, another tip, kung gusto nyo makatipid, wag na kayong kumuha ng solicitor. Kaya namang mag-apply, DIY, like do it yourself. Marami namang tips online, kasi 1,000 pounds din yung babayaran mo, or more, for the rendered services ng solicitor. So, asawa ko lang naman nagpumilit. Kumuha kasi para daw sure ball. Ako kasi I'm all for tipid. Sure.
I think, sorry, just to say with like solicitors.
Did you understand?
Yes. So just to say with like solicitors, it's up to you what you want to do. Like, I was really concerned that maybe we'd miss out an important piece of paperwork, or something wasn't quite up to point, something wasn't accurate, and therefore we could have maybe applied for 6 months. And then you get told at the 6 month time that it was rejected. Plus you also don't have any communication with anybody else. You know, if you do it alone, like you just have your own. And not that the solicitors can do much after, but they can also just sort of give you an idea of, you know, as to where they're at. They can give updates when they've spoken to the government. For me, it's better to do it that way, but it's personal choice. It is not cheap. It's about, I think we paid about £1,000 overall. But for me, it was the peace of mind to make sure that all of the paperwork was correct, was filed correctly, was uploaded. And yeah, we were not going to be, I don't know how to say it, but like in trouble, or we were not going to be rejected due to some silly like admin error that we made.
Magkaiba kami ng perspective, pero pareho lang naman. Same but different. No, nasabi ko as a tip yun kasi before, 2 years ago, nag-apply ako ng same, immigration visa naman ng parents ko to US. Exactly the same yung process na ginawa nila. So, yung necessary documents, basic documents like passport and everything. Plus, there were just some questionnaires that you need to answer. Like, have you been a terrorist before or something like that? So, it's almost the same.
Yeah.
Kaya, nasabi ko na kung kaya niyong mag-DIY na lang, mag-DIY na lang kayo. Pero nasa inyo pa rin naman yan. While waiting for the IELTS result, gather all your documents like your IDs, passport, and then national ID if applicable. It's a relationship like wedding or marriage certificate. I think it should be apostilled, no?
Yes. Well, for us it was, yeah. For the UK.
Kasi yun yung tinatanggap na stamp certification sa UK. And I think it's widely accepted.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it proves it's legit or something like that.
Lots of photographs of you both together and with your family. I have printed the requirements that were given to us by our solicitor, so it'll be like accurate to tell you what we submitted before. So maybe mga 10 pictures, pwede na?
Yes.
Huwag naman yung buong album ng Facebook nyo. So, okay na. And they also asked us to write a couple of paragraphs. I did a one full page of A1 paper explaining how we met, when we met, and how we felt about each other. You know, like a letter.
Almost like a love letter.
Love letter,
a lot of
yeah.
this stuff is very intrusive, and it makes you feel like your relationships is being like tested almost, or like
Just for them to know if it's genuine or
yes. But in amongst that, when they're checking it, it does feel like they may be checking to see if you're in a scam relationship or something. So
not. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of that.
maybe there is. I don't know. You know, but I think
Just to get in the country.
I don't know about that. Maybe there is.
That was my
but
plan. So
I know. But what I would say is to not take that personally when you get them questions. It's very easy to. But this is just a requirement to prove a legitimate marriage, and it's like a blanket way of doing it, so they do it for everyone. So it's very easy. All you have to do is provide like pictures, a couple of statements. You have to talk about places you've been. It says here like a statement to support your relationship, and then you just sign and date it. So you'll talk about places you've been, when you decided you wanted to marry, things like that.
And also the same supporting statements from your friends and family, the timeline, how you met.
Yeah, like friends or family, like your best friend or your mum or someone. They can just say they've been together this long. They've been together this long. He feels this way, she feels this way.
Yeah. And also some flight tickets, stamps on the passport to show that you have traveled together.
Yes.
And if either of you have been previously married, so divorce certificates and communication evidence. Communications through WhatsApp, social medias, and all, like maybe 5 to 10 each social media. So we've just sent all of them.
Just screenshots, wasn't it?
Yeah, screenshots.
From different dates.
Yes.
WhatsApp's good for that though, isn't it? Because WhatsApp, when you scroll down, it has the date the message was sent.
Even the time, you know.
Yes, yeah. So that's all you need, like 5 or 6.
Yeah, for the last 6 months.
Yeah, so maybe one a month or something.
Yeah, 1 month. So we've sent Zoom, Messenger, WhatsApp. Yeah.
That's
That's
enough.
it. Yeah, that's enough. And also finance. So this is yours. Like,
okay.
Yeah. So the sponsors.
Yes.
Bank statements.
I am obviously the sponsor because Rose came to live with me. So I had to get a letter from HR. It was for me. It was HR from my employer, just to state how long I was working somewhere, what my position was, and my salary. You can talk about, obviously, if you're in a job where maybe you're working on bonuses, you just talk about your basic salary. And I think the salary amount you need to be earning for one person, like, so if you're married and there's no children involved, I think the minimum salary requirement
18,600.
is 18,600. So
a year.
Yeah.
18,600 pounds a year.
Yeah. So realistically, if you're working full time, you should be okay. The other thing I needed was, if I can just take this, because it's been so long, I don't even remember. So 6 months worth of bank statements up until you just applied. So you can either ask for the bank that you're with to provide them physical copies, or you can just download them off your banking app and they can all be there. The last 6 months also of pay slips, so you have to be working ideally in the same job for the last 6 months, and each pay slip should just reflect, you know, how much you're earning, and that'll back up what your statement from your employer will say. The P60, that was a nightmare to get hold of for me, because I'd changed jobs in, what was it, May 21?
Yeah.
We got married in January 22, and I couldn't get hold of my P60 from my previous employer for the previous year, because they needed it from 21. I eventually got it when it was too late, because we'd already sent the applications off. But when I spoke to our solicitor, and this is why I recommend getting a solicitor, is because when I asked him about this, he said it's not a problem. He said, don't worry about the P60, because all your other supporting documents will prove. And he's like, you know, how long have you worked at this new job? Since May. It's no problem. So that reassurance for me was really good, because I didn't actually provide that, and we still got a successful application. And the last thing you need is the employment contract from the finance. So just the contract you signed when you first joined your job, states your hours, your pay, things like that. So UK accommodation, it's like there's about 4 or 5 points to do with that. The first one we've got here is either a tenancy agreement if you're renting, or a land registry, if you own a house or an apartment or what have you. And that's going to be an application to provide, a document to provide in the application for where the person who you're applying for is going to live. So we live here already, so we have the land registry here, and obviously Rose has come to join us here, so we had all of that taken care of with no issues. And if there's going to be anyone else living in the house with you, for example, maybe a brother or a daughter, a father or a mother, whatever, if they're living with you, you'd need a copy of their ID.
And passports, yeah.
Actually, I think it was the passport. Yeah, I think it's just passport and that. So if there's going to be anyone else living in the house, you need that. The other thing as well you need is a council tax bill, a recent council tax bill, addressed to the sponsor of the UK address. And any other sort of correspondence, so letters or bills. So for example with me, there was a number of letters that I had. I can't remember which ones they were, but they were like bank statements, and there were other things like that that just had my name and address on, which confirmed that I live there. And then you have to do this other thing, which is kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you remember? So you have to take photos you have of the UK address. So what we did was we went into every room and we took pictures of the kitchen, of the living rooms, of the bathroom, bedrooms.
It's just like when you're selling your house.
Yeah, it was basically like putting it on Rightmove or something. So even the garden, like the back garden, whatever, the garage, just include all them pictures and just put them in a file.
So just they will see there's a space for me to move.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason they're doing it is so they can see that you're not going to be 5 people in one room and stuff. There's room for everyone.
And some other documents they would need, IELTS.
Yes.
So A1, that's the minimum that they can accept. And TB test, so tuberculosis test, certificate, if it's applicable where you're currently living. So in Dubai, I didn't need. If you're applying from the Philippines, yes, they would need. In the Philippines, they would need a lot of documents. So I was really lucky to be living in Dubai that time. There's also some questionnaires for entry clearance as a spouse, like have you ever had any other nationality? Any other known name, any other passports, any languages you speak, blah blah blah, tax and all that. Where have you lived for the last, years? Savings, properties, have you been married before?
There's some other ones there that you didn't pick on, which might be interesting for people to know.
Okay.
They also ask you for your monthly income.
Oh, yeah.
They say your employment status. They also ask you for the details of your mother and father's full names, date of birth, place of birth.
Basically their passports.
Yeah, and nationality. So yeah, same. And then they ask you if you've ever worked for things like the armed forces, government, media, public or civil administration, or security. If you have any savings and properties and sources of income, and obviously you had to declare properties that you have. But yeah, a lot of questions are very straightforward. They're just kind of unexpected. Like, they're not really relevant. Like, who cares how much you're earning if you're going to come live here?
Exactly.
It's weird.
And if you have any dependent children, if you have any physical or mental conditions, if you have received medical treatment in the UK, have you been issued with a visa for the UK? I never did.
Have you ever travelled here?
Never.
A lot of them are, a lot of them are related to have you been refused entry in the UK, visited the UK. A lot of UK questions. Again, just be honest. Just say, these are the dates that I've come here, because they will know. If there's been any other issues, just make them aware. The questions are quite straightforward. Some of them are just yes or no answers. There's just a lot of them. Interesting ones here, though.
Yeah, so as I've told you earlier, it was about terrorism. If you're like a terrorist, just declare it.
Say yes.
And just to know about your character, maybe.
Well, it's to see if you're on any kind of,
if you did any serious crime.
Yes.
If you're like a dumber or something.
Yeah. But have you ever glorified terrorist violence? Have you ever engaged in activities?
Glorify.
What ties do you have with the country you were born and any countries you have lived with more than 5 years? So I think that's almost like a loyalty question, which is weird. You could just answer that by saying something
this
along the lines
confused me before, no?
Yeah, you could just say the
nationality.
Yeah, you were born there.
I was born there, yeah.
Just keep it simple. I don't know why they would add that question.
Isang tanong, isang sagot, yes.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's there. Don't let them trip you up. Just answer it simply, like I was born there. So.
Under relationship, some questions were: when and where did you and your partner first met? When did your relationship begin? When did you last see your partner? How often do you meet? How do you keep in touch? Have you ever lived together? What languages do you use to communicate? What languages do we use to communicate?
Taglish.
Taglish.
Yes, that's for me. So, have you ever held any other nationality? No, with there.
Yeah.
Is that for me? I forget. It's been so long. I
Yeah,
think it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, like, when did I arrive in the UK? Will you be travelling with you?
1990.
You're gonna tell everyone hold it. What languages do you speak well? I don't know why they'd ask. Are you responsible for supporting anyone financially? So
yes.
like
Now yes.
No, yes.
And what else?
A lot of simple questions like that, again, which are really straightforward. Like, have I been married before? These are similar questions that we've already been asked. Like, how many bedrooms do you have in your house? Things like that. Again, a lot of it is kind of tedious and a lot of like copy paste, but some of it can be quite confusing, I think. It looks a lot like it's quite intimidating when you see all the questions, but when you break it down, it's actually not as bad as you might think. The only other thing, I think...
Finance, this is yours as well.
Yeah, but again...
It's like about your employment history or your current employment.
It's the same question. So it's to do with like your gross annual income, how long have you worked there, what's your job title, stuff like that. So as long as you have the documents that we spoke about before, like the contract and the start date, job title, all of that's covered pretty much. Luckily it's quite an easy process.
Lahat ng to nasa uk.gov website naman. Tsaka pwede yatang isave kung hindi ka sure. Tapos babalikan mo na lang pag ready ka na ulit mag-continue sa application mo. I'm not sure, just please check kasi baka sisihin niyo pa ako. So then, nagbayad nga si Habi ng health surcharge, mga £2,000, no? Iba pa yun sa application, which is around £1,500.
It's also worth noting on that might change when you apply, because the payment is made in, for some reason, it's made in US dollars.
Yeah.
So if the dollar at the minute, I think the dollar's quite strong against the pound, so it might be
almost
more,
1:1, no?
Not far. It's like 1:3 or something. So it might be more now, because this is back in March, late March of 2022.
And lately, the economy is going down.
Yeah, so this is in like October 22, so who knows. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. If it's more, it'll be because it's done in US dollars for some odd reason.
So pikit mata na lang kami na nag-apply, makapunta lang ako dito. Nako. So March 10 this year, 2022, na-apply lahat online ng solicitor namin. Then March 21 ako nakuha ng appointment para sa biometrics at requirements submission sa VFS Dubai. So, okay naman lahat. Saglit lang ako doon, mga 10 to 20 minutes. This year was the worst for application dahil nga sa Ukraine-Russia war. So, naabutan kami. On the week of the application, naglabas ng memo ang uk.gov na cancel ng priority services, yung 1 day at 30 days release ng visa. Magbabayad ka lang ng additional hundreds of pounds for this. Pero until further notice, kasi priority nga nila yung bigyan ng visa ang mga Ukrainian refugees. So we had no choice but to stick to standard service, which takes 3 months. So, sabi ni ate sa counter, 2 months daw bago makuha yung visa. So, dumating ang 2 months. Naglabas na naman ng memo ang uk.gov. Instead na 3 months, 6 months na naman daw. Because of the same reason. Nako po, edi galit na galit ang lolo mo. Siyempre, ako din. So, nakakahiya kasi naipagkalat ko na naaalis na nga ako after 3 months. Ang dami ko na rin mga farewell parties na naganap. Alam na ng buong kumpanya. Imagine, makikita ka nila at sabihin, bakit nandito ka pa? So, medyo awkward yun. And ang dami nang naunang nag-resign at umalis ng bansa kaysa sa akin that time. Anyway, dahil hindi na nga namin kayang hindi magkita for 6 months, nag-decide si Habi na dalawin ako sa Dubai for a week nung July this year din. Malas niya kasi summer peak nung pumunta siya, so medyo nagkasakit ng berry kawawa naman. Since May until September, once or twice kami nag-follow up each month via emails and calls sa UK Home Office at sa Wrexham, Wales MP, which is the member of the parliament. So, after 6 months ng application from March, dumating ang passport ko with UK visa stamp granted noong September 7. So, ito nga yung visa. Yarn. And, so, lipad na ako, pero nagpa-extend pa ang amo ko, magstay daw ako ng 2 more weeks. Nakipag-bargain ako, syempre. Nasabi ko na sila like 3 months before, and then now, gusto pa nila ako mag-extend. So, sabi ko, 1 week na lang. Pumayag naman. So, nakapag-book na ako. Dapat September 12, aalis na ako. Pero, yun nga, then, nirebook ko na ng September 19 via Air France. Nakakapag-magsalita. Pagdating ko ng airport, hindi ako pinasakay kasi nga, kailangan nila ng transit visa or kahit valid Schengen visa. Expired na yung akin noong August. So, sa excitement ko, hindi ko na-check kasi feeling ko okay naman kasi may UK visa na ako. Alam ko na makakalusot ako kasi hindi naman ako aalis ng airport. So, akala ko, after 1 week na naman ako aalis until may nakitang direct flight si Habi, pero wala nang transit visa na kailangan. Ayun, nakalipad naman the same day. Nakaka-frustrate and depressed and sad.
You work well.
Huh?
You work well.
But I work well under depressions. Ang maghintay nga for 6 months kasi hindi mo alam kung anong iisipin mo or gagawin, kung mara-reject ba or hindi, or mag-grant kasi hindi naman sila nagbibigay ng notification until hawak mo na ang passport mo on hand at may tatak na visa. Buti na lang may mga groups na sinalihan kami sa Facebook that kept us sane. So, nag-join kami para makakuha ng more information, if you have questions at latest updates. So, every time na may nakikita kami, yes, visa granted, nagkakaroon kami ng pag-asa na parang sila nga nakakuha, ako pa kaya. Char. Yun. So, and through those pages, may mga Filipino friends din akong nakilala and na-meet in UAE. And then, mag-meet din kami dito. Pagdating nila, yung iba dumating na. And so, we were not alone. Doon talaga na-test yung patience namin. Ilalagay ko na lang yung mga links below para maka-join din kayo if you want. And nung pagdating ko sa UK airport, tatanungin ka lang ng mga few easy questions. Iba-iba, depende sa immigration officer. Yung isang tanong sa akin, so you're gonna live here? Yun lang yata. Then, after a few days, may instruction na kasama dun sa parcel with a passport kung saan at paano mo makuha yung BRP mo.
Biometric residence permit.
Yes. So, valid siya for 2.5 years. Then, mag-a-apply ka ulit. Magte-test ka ulit ng IELTS for another level. So, just upgrade for your, like, B1. Pero I guess that time it'll be easier kasi nasa loob na naman tayo ng UK. Yung na-receive ko yung akin, valid until 2014 December. Which is supposed to be June 2025. But don't worry, hindi naman kayo papatalsikin agad ng bansa. So, sa UK system, it's until June 2025 pa rin. So, makikita niyo siya sa uk.gov also. That was our journey in spouse visa application. I hope this video helped you in some ways. If you have any questions or suggestions, we'll try and do it for you. And thank you for watching. I am Rose Bartolome-Jones.
And this is Sean Jones.